Now, this is going to be a kind of a fun month. Let's talk about the end of the world. No. It's not putting a positive spin on disasters, but when they talk about like stress, it's not avoiding stress. You are going to get it. It's not avoiding disaster. There is going to be one. I mean, and it doesn't matter whether it's, biblical or Mayan or whatever. We're gonna end up with some type of interruption in our lifestyle and our services. And if we're prepared for that, we've got no worries. And plus, too, since we love our community and our families, if we're prepared, we can also help them too. Okay, does that make sense? So it's not meant to be scared, it's meant to be prepared. And if you are, you're going to be styling. Next week, we're going to talk about waste management and also water purification. I'm going to show you that one of the assets we have is the river that runs down a few miles away and the ocean. I'm going to show you how to make fresh water out of there. And where it's just a phenomenal food source. And then we're going to talk about first aid and how some diseases flourish. And you're going to find out that the miracle of how we live and how long we're living isn't from modern medicine. It's actually from personal hygiene and cleaning, just standard practices. All of those you're going to learn now. So we got a couple of choices. What do you think is going to happen?
All of the above.
Yeah, you could E, all the above. When you're taking a board question, that's exactly what you answer, okay, because you're generally right. But a solar flare, we get them all the time. Now, if a big solar flare hits, the satellites are wiped out. That means no GPS. Okay, that means it's a real challenge to find where we are. That means the planes are going to have a different way to navigate. It also means computers are gone, electric's gone, and I'll show you about different transportation choices too. Earthquakes. I've been through the 71 earthquake. I've been through the Northridge earthquake. And bridges tend to fall. Okay, and also sewer lines can get interrupted. You're talking buildings may be unstable. Luckily in our area we don't have a lot of brick-based buildings, but those fall down pretty quick. Economic. Okay, is that just something that we should do the ostrich like our government is and bury our head in the sand and just think it'll pass us by? No, there's real, all of these are real. Flood, tsunami. We do happen to have an island off the coast. Okay, Catalina, it's going to knock down most of the big waves. But still, it's going to be an issue for a good hunk of our community. And Fukushima. I know it's 10,000 miles away. Okay, but we do have one in Washington State. When we did the talk on radiation, we're getting exposed to radiation now. We're still getting exposed to Fukushima. But come on, there's over 100 operating plants in just America. And forget weapons facilities. So, when we talked about radiation exposure and how to recover from that, it has to do with cell breaking down and cells building up. If your cells build up faster than they break down, you can survive radiation. We brought up several people that were double exposed. They were exposed in Hiroshima and Nagasaki and survived. So all of these disasters, I don't want you to instill fear. I want you to instill knowledge and power to know that if they do happen, you're going to be ready. You're going to be unstoppable. Now, the economic. Now, this is a really cool thing. This is a list of countries that are going to go down in order. Huh? Okay, well, now let's just say that you're running your life and you happen to spend more money than you make. How long do you think you're going to be able to survive financially? Decade? I'm not talking rich uncle. Okay, let's say you're spending more money than you're making. Well, it's going to happen eventually. Now you can go in if you're a country and you're going to get credit, but eventually, someone's going to have to say, "Hey, look, I can't afford it anymore." And then you declare Chapter 7 or Chapter 9, unless you're a country. Now, Iceland, they have 106% of their gross domestic product in loans that they're spending. Their personal credit of the private sector is around 500% of what they produce. What's interesting, the big giant economic powerhouses like US and Japan, they're going to just come in and save the world? I don't think so, particularly when they're spending 190% of the gross national product. So what's going to happen economically, and this is not a guess, this is an actual fact that's going to happen, and it's happening now, it's radically going to change. Soon the little paper with pictures of dead presidents isn't going to be worth much. We've already seen that happen in Mexico, where it's radically changed and shifted. We already seen it happen in Italy, radically changed and shifted, and this is going on from World War II. Just know it's going to happen here. But people are still going to live. They're still going to survive. There's still going to be an exchange of energies, and that energies will change. But just know that this is one of the challenges that we're going to have to face, leaving the dark ages we're in and moving into the Renaissance. See, in the 1300s, if I said, look, you guys are living in the dark ages, they say, no, that was the 1200s. We're in the 1300s. Okay, we understand that disease is from sin and evil spirits. We understand the world is flat. We know not to go beyond our borders because they're sea monsters. Okay, and they were really enlightened. Luckily, a plague hit, and with the advanced medical care of mercury and bleeding, okay, it wiped out about 2/3 of Europe. So that decrease in population or redistribution of wealth caused the Renaissance. So we're in the Dark Ages and we're leaving it. And you might say, no, we're not in the Dark Ages. Okay, well, if anyone questions that, just say the year 2031. Nobody knows what 2031 is? Oh, okay. No. Well, what's cool is, see, 2031 is the year, if current trends, healthcare trends continue, that's the year that the autistic children will outnumber the kids without autism. And so then, all the ridiculous stuff, the Dark Ages flat earth thinking, then when they say, oh, it's not from vaccinations, it's not from the poisonous food, it's not from that, we're just better at diagnosing it, pretty much people would just say, no, that's ridiculous. Okay, so this is going to happen. So it depend absolutely on being without services for 6 months to a year. Okay, absolutely no services. If you have 6 months to a year, you're going to be absolutely not just safe and fine, but you're going to thrive because you're actually moving into the Renaissance. So what this means is 6 months with no electricity. This means no refrigeration, no lights. When I go to my garage and I press the button, that thing won't go. Okay, so you got to figure out, if you got an electric garage door, how to open it. And if you're not familiar with this, the door that goes up, there's a little red knob, you pull that down, that means you can lift it with your hands. This means no cell phones. So communication with friends and relatives might be a challenge. This means no ATMs. This means no pumps to draw in gasoline or fuel from the ground. So this is a radical shift. Now, if you understand, electricity may come on, it may go off, it may come on, it may go off, brownouts. Okay, this was very common in World War II. But this can happen over anything. Solar flare, economic, this can happen in virtually everything. So preparation is ideal. So learn about fuel storage. I mean, you're going to see survival kits like this, and they're handy. They'll have a space blanket, they'll have a flashlight, they'll have a whistle, they'll have a little jug of water, and that's okay if you're in your car. Okay, but after that, after you get home, what do you do? So you have to understand about fuel, the challenges. Generators works great, except you're going to run out of fuel. Okay, you won't have 6 months worth of fuel for it. Candles, flashlights, ideal. Food storage, first aid, we're going to cover first aid in detail in 2 weeks, okay? In detail. You're going to learn wound care, you're going to learn disinfectant, you're going to learn how to stop diseases, and in fact, with what you're going to learn in first aid, you're going to kind of wonder why hospitals are there, okay? Really, truly. And now, okay, let's just look at Huntington Beach. Whatever community you're from, and these are recorded, so people all around the world are watching this. Whatever community you're in, look at it. Okay, look at it from a different perspective. See, most people, we go to work, we get in our car, we drive home, we go to our favorite restaurant. Okay, me, I'm in a total rut. I order the same thing pretty much when I go to the restaurant because I'd love, just like a couple items, and then I go home again. So you live in a very small area, but I'm just going to take Huntington Beach. If you look at this from a satellite area, you can't get in or leave Huntington Beach without going under or over a bridge. So if the bridges are wiped out, You're done. Now, it'd be really unusual to have every bridge wiped out, but if you're in the mindset of just that one route, and that route's blocked, you're in deep trouble. So develop other areas to travel into different areas, because there may be a lack of resources where you're staying now. So absolutely look for it. Now, you might say, look, we've got Whole Foods, we've got Rouse, we've got Mother's, we've got a lot. Every store you go to has a maximum of 4 days worth of food. This means every giant, massive supermarket has 4 days worth of food. That means every 4 days, everything on the shelves are replenished. And I'm not just talking fish and meat, I'm talking even the stuff that you can't really eat. The packaged foods, the genetically modified corn chips, okay? The real poisonous stuff, okay? There's only 4 days worth of that, and that's without panic. If we said, look, in 2 days the world's going to get hit by a meteor, how long do you think it would take for the shelves to be empty? I'm guessing just a few hours. Okay, so there's only 4 days worth of food. It's interesting when you start doing research. They say we're 12 meals away from anarchy, because if somebody expects without any preparation to go up and open the store door and purchase something, and it's not there, and you got hungry kids, that's panic. Now, what assets do we have? We got a river, okay? We got an ocean. And there's a town next to us called Fountain Valley. Do you know what it was called Fountain Valley? Kinda, a ton of artesian wells. It turns out that the groundwater in that area, that it's a low watershed. This is somewhat up on the mountain, and there's a low watershed area there where it was a swamp originally, and the groundwater seeps up through it. Now, since we have a huge population, we're pumping that groundwater out, so the water table is a little lower. So if the pump stopped, guess what we got? We got fountains back in Fountain Valley, another water source. Natural springs. Now, what kind of fuel do we have? We have wood, we've got a little bit of oil, because we do have some pumps. That's hard to utilize though. So look what you need. Okay, so we know the assets that we got. We know the challenges that are available, okay, with just 4 days worth of food supply. Look for alternate sources out, or alternate routes. But what you're going to require is about 1,500 to 2,000 calories a day. And that's not subsistence. That's a pretty good, healthy living. Okay, that means you're going to be okay. What you require in water is about 1 gallon a day per person. And that's not drinking water, that's going to be washing, that's going to be bathing, that's going to be just about 1 gallon of water. And we're going to go over water sources and how to clean it, but these are just what your body requires. Okay, what a human being requires. So let's say you have, family of 3. Okay, because I'm pretty much going to take care of probably about 6 people. My sisters, my kids. Okay, so what I need about 6 gallons a day per person for 6 months to a year. Okay, and that's it. What I need is you're talking around 18,000 calories a day that'll cover about 6 people for about 6 months. So you can start doing the math and the calculations of what your body requires and what your family requires. So first off, let's look at transportation. Now, when I was looking into this a while ago, knowing that you may have to drive further to get resources, you got to understand what do we have to drive. Okay, public transportation, that's pretty much gone. Okay, you can't really depend on it. It's not going to be, the road system may be inconsistent, and fuel supply may be off. Gasoline, very dangerous. Okay, now the good thing about gasoline is it's a high BTU. It's got a tremendous amount of energy for a small amount of space. The bad part is it vaporizes. The vapor gets heavier than air, so if you have an open container of gas, your garage now becomes a bomb. Okay, so gasoline is incredibly dangerous to store. I actually have a gas container for a small generator, and the gas container is kept outside because it's very, very dangerous. Now, diesel is, God's gift to mankind. Diesel is not explosive, it doesn't vaporize, and the guy that originally invented the diesel engine had it to burn peanut oil. Now, peanut oil worked really, really good. In fact, In my car now, I burn either canola or soy oil or any type of vegetable oil. You don't want to eat it, okay? Canola is absolutely poisonous and genetically modified, but the BTU is pretty good. It burns well in my car, and it's really easy to store. So when I was looking at these choices between public transportation, gasoline, or diesel, it was a pretty much no-brainer. Now this hurt. Do you know why choosing diesel hurt? I loved my truck. I had a big, beautiful, red, okay, it was so red it hurt your eyes. I mean, I didn't know if you could love a truck. Are there any guys in here that love their vehicle? God bless you, man. Okay, you understand. Giving up my truck, my beautiful four-wheel drive truck hurt. But I love my little tiny red diesel now. It's really fun. I like putting veggie oil in it. Electric. I happen to have an electric vehicle at home. It's a small bike, and it's good for going about 20, 25 miles. But the problem with electric is that the distance isn't that far. Okay, you're only going to get a few miles on it. Some of the electric vehicles are fantastic. They have a 300 to 400 mile radius or range, but you need to charge them. What's nice about small vehicles like a bicycle or a small motorcycle is that you can get solar radiation to charge it. So the availability is fantastic. The renewability is fantastic. It's incredible. Now, again, for the renewability, diesel is incredible. It will burn virtually any kind of oil that you can find. And this is any kind of diesel. Now, the reason I chose an older diesel instead of one of the new hot turbo, there's no computer in it. There's no fancy electronics. So if there does happen to be any type of solar radiation or any type of nuclear problem with the electronics, my car will function just fine. Okay, so a little thought goes into that. And walking is fantastic. I know it sounds weird, but the average person can walk pretty much easily about 20 miles a day. So if you have to walk here to, say, the Queen Mary and back, that's about a 2-day trek, but there could be water or food sources in there. So use walking as an actual source of transportation. Now bikes, everybody should have a bike. If you look at all the countries around the world that have had financial or economic or challenges, bikes are the number one transport. You can easily go 100 miles a day very, very simply on a bike. So now, since we're not sure when it's going to be, make sure that whatever type of vehicle you have, that you're always driving with a full tank. If that baby gets down to 3/4 full, go out and fill it. And then start thinking, not full tank, but if you get 10 miles to the gallon, you got 20 gallons, that's 200 miles that you can travel. If you have a 20-gallon tank and you get 20 miles to the gallons, that's 400 miles you can go. Okay, now if I'm burning vegetable oil, I can get around 35 miles to the gallon. I have about an 18-gallon tank, so I can go almost 700 miles. Okay, so that's my range that I can do, or 700 miles without filling up. Okay, so start thinking about miles, distance traveled, because you may start to look at a map and say, well, we're in the island of Huntington Beach. We understand that there's resources 100 miles away. Do we have enough to get there and get back? Yes or no? So it just comes down to differences. And also I have spare parts. One of the other reasons I chose the older Mercedes is because they haven't changed the design in around 20 years. So parts from a Mercedes, my car's 30 years old, 40 years old down to 25 years old, all of those cars will fit mine. We took my car on a trip up to Lake Tahoe, took it on a 2,000-mile shakedown cruise when we first got it, and the axle broke in Tahoe. Hey, look at this, look at this. 30-year-old, veggie-burning diesel, and the axle broke. I'm not worried about the part, okay? I go up to the mechanic, and he says, yeah, we'll have it done for you in a couple hours. I said, good, because me and my kids, we wanted to explore the mountain. Okay, we'll see you later. I just like that. Okay, so when you look at it, number one thing, okay, because we're talking about transportation, you got to understand what your transportation is, where you need to go, okay, and what you need to get. Now, food, this is vital, okay? Now, water is a little bit more vital than food, but transportation is also vital because this is going to get you the food, it's going to get you the water, it's going to get everything. So first off, most of us, particularly if you're into healthy food, you're not going to have a lot of packaged products. Okay, so your main storage of food is going to be refrigerated because it typically tends to keep fresh vegetables and food longer. So the refrigerator is gone. Okay, it's gone. It's dead, there's no power to it. So a generator will keep a refrigerator going for a short period of time. You can run it a couple hours a day to keep it chilled, okay, and it works really nicely. You can also use, does anybody know what this is?
Lime.
Yeah, but what is it? It's citric acid. It's an actual acid. You can make a battery out of it, okay? You can actually wash with it. It's an antibacterial. You can use it as a deodorant on it. You can use it as a disinfectant, but you can also use it to cook food. Anyone ever hear of ceviche? So now if you slice vegetables or if you slice fish, actual fish, and put the citric acid over it, it will cook it. It will cook it and preserve it longer. You can also use vinegar, you can also use heat, but this is such a phenomenal resource. I mean, it's just, and it's in its own little package. But look at this, antibacterial, disinfectant, kills viruses, kills funguses, and can cook food. And it tastes good. And if you get thirsty, you can put it in a little glass of water. It'll alkalize your system. If you like drinking beer, squeeze a little in there, and it tastes pretty darn good. Okay, so if you have food and the refrigerator's breaking down, you got a couple of choices. You can watch it rot, which is foolish, or you can cook it, preserve it by cooking. We use lemon or citrus, or dry it. Drying it's fantastic. I mean, let's use the sun. How you dry food, because if you have an electric dryer, it's not going to work really good. So what you have to do, you have to get either sheets of aluminum, slice any type of animal product that you got, whether it's fish or meat or products, very, very thin, and you can lay it out on the aluminum and the sun will dry it. Or you can hang it, and if you hang it, it's going to be sliced thin, and you can smoke it. Or you can salt it. Now, depending on your availability, so you can imagine right now, some of the stuff that you're going to get a little bit more salt than you normally would. You may want to store some wood. I happen to have a grapevine, and we store all the grapes, the grape wood, which is a phenomenal wood source to smoke meats. And the solar. But when you're drying the meat in the sun, flies can land on it. So you need to cover it with a screen, because it's going to be attracted to them. So try and cover it with some type of screen, but so the solar radiation gets in there. Now, if you don't have a salt source, next week when we talk about water or getting water from the ocean, and I'm going to show you how to distill it using no electricity or anything, you end up with a brine. And this brine is rich salt. Guess what it's good for, used for preserving? Yes, everything. It's so good. I mean, it's you know, when you start seeing this stuff, you start thinking, this is so simple. Why was everybody in Katrina panicking? Just because they didn't have the knowledge. They had the resources. They had tons of it. And then canning. Now canning, I gave you a website on the back that's fantastic about canning. In our generation, we didn't learn a lot of it. Okay, there's ways to preserve food uncooked, and there's ways to preserve food cooked. And it's a very simple process. I encourage you to look at it. But then, in my house, okay, we went by Smart & Final. We got a number of jars. Okay, they're all quart jars and pint jars. Cost around $10 for a dozen jars. And you can learn how to can. Very, very simple. What you do, and I'm just going to describe the procedure really roughly. Let's say you're going to do tomatoes. Okay? You blanch it, which means you boil tomatoes really quickly. You take them out, you peel the skins off, you put them in a jar. You put a little lime or lemon. Okay, I know. It's just so versatile. And then you put a little bit of salt in there if you want salt. Okay, I'd like the sea salt because I like the minerals. Then you fill it up with boiling water, and then you put the lid on the jar and you boil the jar. Okay, you boil the jar for between 20 to 40 minutes depending on the type of vegetable you're doing. And you'll see when you learn about canning from these websites, it's very, very specific. Then you allow the jar to cool, you take it out, and preserved vegetables are good for about a year. They're good for about a year. Okay, so that means that when your garden, and God knows how many people in here have a garden? Okay, what the heck do you do when tomato season's in? I know. I know, you get a lot of friends, okay? Yeah, the tomatoes came in this week. I don't know what to do with them. Okay, so, you can make sauce for, 50 people, but, what's neat about this is preserving it. It only takes about an hour, takes a little bit of knowledge, very little equipment, okay, and it lasts for at least a year. At least a year. Oh, come on, that's ridiculous. And then a root cellar. Digging a hole and putting vegetables in have been around since the Stone Age times. It's fantastic. What I like is one of the things that you learn in survival training, if you have an igloo, just a regular ice chest, dig a hole, drop the igloo thing in there, and then you got a lid. You can cover it with a little bit of dust, dirt, whatever you want, okay? But it preserves root vegetables. Now, what's interesting, when you look at beets, cabbage, carrots, celery, garlic, in a root cellar, these things can stay fresh between 1 to 3 months to 7 to 8 months. So we're still meeting that 6-month criteria where we're going to be preserving things. And the only thing that you really need when you start preserving foods, okay, is canning jars, okay, and understand how to can it. So you only need canning jars and a giant pot to put the cans in, or the jars in, aluminum foil, wood smoke, and salt. Okay, and you can preserve just about anything you want, and especially this magic thing. I should have put lemon up there too. Okay, now food. You might want to, now there's some crazy survivalists out there. Wait, I shouldn't say that. There's some focused survivalists that are a little bit on edge, that are saying, oh my gosh, Armageddon, we're all going to die. Okay, let's go in and get the military rations, the meals ready to eat, the MREs. Okay, this is about the most toxic thing on the planet. I'm not saying our military is stupid, but they're not that smart. Okay, the men in there are brilliant. Okay, our servicemen are fantastic. By God, I'd walk through fire for them. But the people leading them and buying this stuff, that's just dumb. You don't give poisonous, toxic stuff and tell a guy to go risk his life. Okay, that's just foolish. The MREs are ridiculous. Okay, they cost way too much money, $4 to $5 per meal, and then if they say they're going to last like 5 to 7 years. Unless they're left in the hot sun, then they maybe only last 3 months. Now they're devoid of fibers, they're devoid of organic products, they're super full of fat. So the common side effect of the meals ready to eat are constipation. Now if you're constipated, you can't move, you can't run, you get acidic, and you start developing higher disease states. So the MREs, that's not even an option. Canned food and groceries, fantastic. Okay, now this, sardines loaded with omega-3s, non-predatory fish, and they're very, very cheap. This I would recommend to start stocking up, because it requires very little effort, super easy to open, you don't require any cooking. And if you start, just acquiring a little bit at a time, like when you go in there, even if you're, organic vegetarian, some of the canned foods you can get organic beans, you can get organic vegetables, okay, that are already preserved. Now on the can, on the bottom of the can, there'll be a date, an expiration date. That expiration date is only the date to be sold, not how good the stuff is inside. See, canned food can generally last years after even the date to be sold is passed, if the can is kept correctly. Which means it's not kept in direct sun, it's kept in a cool, dry place, and you can see as long as the can isn't dented or bulging, because if a can is dented, is bulging, is rusty, it can develop botulism. Now, unless you're into injecting botulism inside a face to destroy wrinkles, I know, that's actually a therapy. Okay, I know, I'm sorry, this is the dark ages. Okay, they're no longer going to do that when we're enlightened. Okay, but botulism is one of the deadliest toxins known. So if you have canned food and it's bulging or you suspect it, throw it away. I don't care how hungry you are, it's not worth it. And then dried food. Dried food is phenomenal, phenomenal. What I ended up with last year with ridiculous amount of grapes, I didn't know what to do with them. So what did I do? I made about 20 pounds of raisins. Do you know what carries more calories? A cup of grapes or a cup of raisins? Raisins, yeah, because there's a tremendous amount of raisins inside of that stupid little cup. Okay, and sometimes when you dry food, the nutrition content increases. So it's a fantastic way to preserve it. Now, local food harvesting. We're lucky enough to live close to the ocean. Okay, seaweed is actually edible. What I like, has anyone ever seen a string of seaweed like this? It's got like a leaf, a little ball on it, and a big string on it. Now, I'm not saying there's an intelligent design, but do you know what that ball is? It's full of air. Okay, now here's a plant. It's on the bottom of the ocean, and it decides, okay, to build an air container, okay, to float the leaves so it gets closer to the sun, so it gets more radiation exposure. Now, I'm not smart enough to extract oxygen from water, but this plant is. No, you're supposed to say, wow, that's really smart. Okay, it's just when you learn this stuff, you think, oh my God.